I did an 8-hour hike through El Yunque in Puerto Rico, and that was actually like life-changing. Like if someone said like, what's your favorite memories in life, it would be that hike. Hi. Hello. Hi. Hi. Hi.
Are you gonna tell us what your favorite animal is on the floor? Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, so chunky. Really? Yeah. You're so cute. So this happened. I made a video asking FSG Books if I can have Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. I have read every single Sally Rooney book for the first time ever in 2024, and I told them I thought it would be iconic if they gave me an arc of Intermezzo so I can read every single Sally Rooney book in 2024. Obviously, this book comes out in August, and I was going to read it in 2024 either way, but every single person who I followed was getting an arc, and I had extreme FOMO. So I literally made a reel over on my Instagram, which I will link down below, asking them for an arc of Intermezzo, and they delivered. It even has my full government name written on the first page of the arc, and this is definitely my most prized possession in terms of literature. I am so honored that I have the arc for Intermezzo, and guys, I'm 118 pages into it, so let's talk about that. If you don't know what Intermezzo is about, it's an exquisitely moving story of grief, love, and family, but especially love from the global phenomenon Sally Rooney. So we follow two brothers who are dealing with the recent passing of their father. We follow Ivan, who is a 22-year-old competitive chess player, and then we follow Peter, who is a lawyer in Dublin, and they live very separate lives. They aren't necessarily close as brothers, but through this monumental moment in their life, they come closer together as brothers as they are dealing with different situations in their own life, and their stories kind of intersect. I'm only 118 pages into it, so obviously the brothers aren't necessarily on the best speaking terms in the novel so far, but I'm really enjoying it. It took me a little bit to get into, mostly because I was so intimidated by the story. I begged for it from FSG Books, and the moment that I received it, in my brain, I no longer wanted to read it. That's just something about me. I feel like the thrill of the chase is so much more fun than actually receiving what you want. And the moment that I received Intermezzo by Sally Rooney, I was like, now I don't want to read it anymore. I'm intimidated. What if I don't enjoy it? What if it's not my cup of tea? So many people on TikTok are saying this is her best book ever, and what if I don't agree? There were so many things swirling in my mind, but I eventually sat down and read 118 pages, and I'm really enjoying it so far. One thing that I've noticed so far that I really enjoy is how different the writing is for both brothers' point of views. So we have Peter, who has really short and quick sentences. His sentences are so blunt and direct, and you can tell that he's a very serious person. Meanwhile, Ivan has these meandering thoughts, and he's always contemplating how he's perceived by others. He's really into chess, and he always tells others that he doesn't really know how to interpret social situations and whether people are enjoying his conversations or not. And he's very self-aware of how different he is, and he doesn't necessarily have the strongest relationship with his mother because he is so different in the eyes of society. So far we are following these brothers on their separate journeys. Ivan has met a woman named Madeline who is a bit older than him. He's 22 and she's 30 something. And we also follow Madeline's point of view as well, which I think is really cool. We follow 5 different points of views, but obviously the center of the tale is around these 2 brothers and the relationships that they have with these other characters. And then we follow Peter, who has this really unique relationship with this woman named Naomi, and I don't feel like they actually like each other. I think they just like each other from a sexual point of view and they don't actually have an emotional connection. But he does have an emotional connection to this woman named Sylvia, who he is continuing to return to during his lowest moments in life. And of course, a Sally Rooney book is not complete without these beautiful, lush conversations between these characters. I love these everyday conversations that they have, and it doesn't necessarily have to be about anything important, and I think that's what makes Sally Rooney's characters feel so real, because their conversations aren't always pushing the plot forward. They are these conversations that allow you to get to know them a bit better, to get to know their fears, their beliefs, their memories, their life, their passion. And I'm really enjoying the different writing style between Peter and Ivan and how different they are as people. And I'm really excited to see their relationships eventually mend and come closer together because of the loss of their father. Obviously, I can't tell you too much about the plot. What I told you was like the initial synopsis overview of the story, and one of my favorite things about Sally Rooney is how complex the relationships are. So there's a lot of ground you have to cover in order to understand the plot of her novels. So that was like the initial foundation that I laid for the story for you to understand the plot. But I'm going to share a couple of thoughts here and there about the story, but try and be vague to save the excitement of Intermezzo for everyone who's going to eventually read it in September. And I'm just really happy that FSG provided me with a copy of it. I'm so excited to read further, and I'm just so happy that I have this book in my hands. But I also wanted to catch you up on a couple of days of my life that I featured in this vlog that were just so fun. One, I went to a fluffy cow farm. It has been my dream to meet a fluffy cow, and I felt like the only way I was going to do that was by going to Scotland, and I actually was planning on going to the UK and going to Scotland, but because I was laid off, I had to push back those plans. But it was still my dream in 2024 to pet a fluffy cow. So my best friend did so much research, and we found a farm called the Elk Ravine Farm in New York, and we drove a couple of hours to the farm, and we were able to meet fluffy cows and meet some amazing horses and other cute animals on this farm, and it was genuinely one of my favorite experiences of my entire life. This farm provides these really private tours where you're able to meet the horses, the goats, their emus, and eventually their fluffy cows. And the way that they structure this is so intimate, and you get to really spend your time with each animal, and you can tell how much they love every single animal on their farm, and they treat them with so much care. And meeting fluffy cows for the first time ever was a dream come true. They are so beautiful and quiet and chill, and they don't care if you comb them, they don't care if you pet them. They're just these wonderful animals that I've been dreaming of meeting for the first time ever, and I'm really happy I was able to. I highly recommend going to that farm if you're in the East Coast area. The people who run the farm are so kind and so sweet, and it's totally worth the experience and going out of your way to go visit this farm. I'm so happy I was able to hit my goal of meeting a fluffy cow for the first time in 2024, because truly that was one of my biggest goals for 2024. It was just something that I've always wanted to do. And I also wanted to share a book that I received from the publisher, and it is The Full Moon Coffee Shop. And this book looks so cute. I saw it on Instagram and I gushed about it in the comments when the publisher posted about it, and they offered me a copy, and I'm really happy that they sent it my way. So this is from Ballantine Books. It is an imprint of Penguin Random House, and it says, "This is a charming and magical novel inspired by the myth of cats returning favors to those who care for them, and it reminds us that it's never too late to follow our stars." To me, this reminds me a lot of Before the Coffee Gets Cold, where it's like a slice of life, magical story that will really warm your heart and just make you fall in love with not only the cats but the characters as well. And I just cannot wait to eventually dive into this novel. It seems like the perfect novel to break me out of a book slump because the font is really big. So thank you so much to Ballantine Books for gifting me a copy of this novel. So now that you're caught up with everything that's been happening in this vlog, let's get back into Intermezzo and also these slices of life that I'm going to share throughout this vlog, because I don't want it to just be an Intermezzo vlog. I want it to also be like days in my life, so you can catch up up on what I've been doing, all the different adventures that have been going on, and it's just a wonderful time for all of us. I have 3 updates to share with you. I have a phone case unboxing, a book unboxing, and a book update. So let's start with Intermezzo. I'm on part 2 out of 3 for the entire novel, and I'm really enjoying it. Not as much as Beautiful World, Where Are You or Normal People, but I'm really enjoying the journey that I'm on with Ivan and Peter and their respective women that they are having relationships with. I really do prefer Ivan's point of view compared to Peter's because Peter is so aggravating, and whenever we switch back to his point of view, I dread it because I really don't like Naomi as a character, and I also am just not used to Peter's perspective. So I'm really excited to see how people interpret not only Naomi but Peter and Ivan, because these two characters, these two brothers, feel so different from one another. They have very different narratives, which Sally Rooney explores in the way that she writes both of their perspectives, and I think the way that she writes them is so different and so polarizing, and you can feel that every time you do a chapter shift. I feel like she didn't do that often with Normal People. I felt like the tone was very consistent between Marianne and Connell, but again, one can make the argument that Marianne and Connell and Normal People are very similar to one another, and in this book, Ivan and Peter could not be more different. So narratively, you feel that every time you switch between their perspectives, which I think is really interesting. But yeah, Peter is annoying the heck out of me. I love Ivan. I will protect him until the end of my days. And let's move on to the 2 unboxings now. So I previously had an OtterBox on my phone, and I've had it for like 3 years now, and the case was just stretching out and it was falling off the corners of my phone. So I decided to get 2 new cases from Casely, which I saw a couple of people on Reddit recommend because I was researching different cases to try out, and a lot of people had a lot of positive things to say about Casely, so I decided to get 2 because this is my first ever purchase from the company, and because this is my first ever purchase, they gave me a buy one get one free code. So I got 2 cases for the price of 1, which I think is amazing. So this is one of the Monet phone cases from the Met collection. They actually did have a Van Gogh collection, but I looked at all the phone cases as part of that collection, and I just didn't find a phone case that I really was called to, and I actually really enjoyed this one more than the ones that they featured in the Van Gogh collection. So know that I did look at that collection because of course I will look at a Van Gogh collection on Casely. And then I found this really cool Western inspired phone case because I think we all know I'm in my root into an era, and I'm not sure which one I want to put on my phone because I leave my phone cases on for months upon months, and I'm just wondering which one feels more summery. I'm thinking the Met one feels a little bit more summery, so I'm just going to put it on, and I'm so happy with it. It's so sturdy. It's like very difficult to take off, which I appreciate because the OtterBox one I actually cracked previously when I was taking off the phone case, and they provided me with a new case, and I felt that that case was getting so flimsy, and if I were to drop my phone, which I do often, it would eventually crack my screen. So I'm really happy that this case feels sturdy, and I'll be sure to link both of the phone cases in the description if you want to check them out yourself. And now let's move on to the book unboxing, which I'm I'm very excited about. I got Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood from Pango Books, which is an app that you can sell used books on, and I use it all the time to not only sell books but buy books at a discounted price. And I got myself a copy of Not in Love because I'm so excited about this book and I love Ali Hazelwood. I feel like the only Ali Hazelwood book that I have not liked so far is Bride, which was her foray into paranormal romance, but I'm really excited about this one because it's a forbidden secret affair that proves all is fair in love and science. Of course, the characters are always competing against one another. Of course, their relationship is always hidden beneath the surface. I feel like she does recycle a lot of the same tropes, which a lot of people have issues with, but she always recycles the tropes that I love the most, so I'm not too mad about it. And I know that this one is her spiciest book yet, so I'm very excited to dive into it. It's also shiny. I didn't realize I got the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. Guys, I'm so excited. I'm not going to start this until I finish Intermezzo. Intermezzo has taken me a very long time to get through. I just have not been in the reading mood as often lately. I'm going to try and read more of Intermezzo today to get deeper into it, but I'm really happy with everything that I've received today, and I'm really happy with my new phone case as well. I think it's so pretty, and it matches my green phone as well. I did it. I read all 4 of Sally Rooney's books in 2024. The moment I read Normal People at the beginning of the year, I fell in love with her writing and I had to read every single thing that she has written. And I finished Intermezzo, which is her biggest novel that she's ever written so far. And surprisingly, it has not become my new favorite Sally Rooney book of all time. Intermezzo for me was a little bit difficult to get into because I did not enjoy Peter's narrative and also personality. Peter is the older brother in the situation, and he has a relationship between Sylvia, his ex-girlfriend, who he still has a lot of feelings for, and this younger woman named Naomi, who is somewhat of a freeloader. She is just the type of girlfriend who would just ask him for money, ask him for whatever she wants, just mooch off of him without giving anything in return. And the reason that this novel didn't become my new favorite Sally Rooney book of all time was because of Peter. I could not get on board with his narrative structure. I could not get on board with him as a character. I do understand and recognize, because I've read every single Sally Rooney book, that her characters are inherently flawed. They are very human characters. They feel so authentic and real because we all have our own flaws. We all have our own issues that would annoy a reader if they had read about our own lives. But Peter was the type of character who just grated against me. I was not rooting for him at any point in this novel. I was so deeply on Ivan's side throughout this whole entire story because I really felt for him, because he felt like he was ostracized by his mother and his brother, and he didn't feel like he had a true relationship with them. And I was so attached to Ivan and his point of view and his journey, which I really enjoyed. But Peter felt like such a stagnant character. He did learn some lessons along the way, but the way that his story wrapped up gave him way too much grace, and it felt so quickly resolved in a way that I can't really delve too deep into because I don't want to spoil this novel. But I felt like the issues that cropped up in his life were very easily resolved, and he was like, I got everything that I wanted. I got everything that I wanted. And I don't think he deserves everything that he wants. I think he's my least favorite Sally Rooney character of all the characters in her universe. All her other characters I can understand. I can understand their motivations. I can understand what they want, what they're yearning for in life. But Peter, I was like, oh my God, I need you to stand up and I need you to be a better man because I do not think you're a good man. I'm actually reading over my Goodreads review because I wanted to hit every single point that I hit in that review. And I put in my review, I found myself impressed that Sally could evoke such authentic feelings of anger from me through Peter's perspective. He truly was why it nearly took me a month to finish this novel. He's my least favorite character in the Rooneyverse. And I think that was purposeful. I think it's purposeful to have characters that you don't necessarily agree with. I think it's purposeful to have these characters with these very large gaping flaws that are so present throughout the whole entire story. But you can also understand it because they are grieving and they're grieving in very different ways. And this story is the reflection of that grief. So there are so many different ways that you can interpret this novel and interpret these characters. And this is the type of story that I'm really excited to see other people's thoughts on because there are so many different ways that you can understand and enjoy this story, and it'll either make or break people. People will either love it or hate it. I feel like that's the true Sally Rooney way. Her stories are very polarizing. But one thing that I do want to say, besides the fact that I hated Peter and I really loved Ivan and I loved his journey, I loved his relationship with Margaret, I think they were like some of my favorite characters to just walk alongside. I loved their relationship. I loved the things that they spoke about. I loved how soft and calm they felt. But one thing that I did want to mention was I wish we had more moments between Peter and Ivan. I loved the entire premise of these two brothers grieving the loss of their father and the fact that they had very different relationships with their father. But I wish we had more moments with the brothers because I felt like that was the one thing that was lacking in the story. I felt like we never got any resolutions between them and we never got any development between them. We most definitely got to journey alongside them and see the different ways that they live their lives and how their thoughts and feelings really impact each other. But I wish we did have more moments between Peter and Ivan. And you're probably like, wow, you have so many negative thoughts about Intermezzo. I don't necessarily think they're negative. They're just personal critiques that I have about the story. I did enjoy the story. I love all of her stories. I think there's always something that you can glean from it. This one, I really enjoyed the exploration of siblings and how you can have a very fraught relationship between siblings and how siblings in adulthood only ever seem to really contact you when they need something or when there's a big moment in the family life. And I loved the way that that was explored. And I guess it could be purposeful as to why these brothers don't necessarily speak to a lot to each other because they do live very separate lives and they're on very separate journeys. I just wish there was more towards the end. I felt like the end was wrapped up a little bit too quickly for my liking, and I wish it was more fleshed out in terms of Peter and Ivan kind of reconciling and just kind of forming a foundation of a relationship that you could believe in when the story ends. Like you could believe that they are going to become better brothers, that they're going to become better people for one another. But if you want me to pitch Intermezzo to you in a very concise and straightforward way, I said, if you love the messiness of the relationships from conversations with friends, coupled with the introspective individual longing for something more from Beautiful World Where Are You, then you'll love Intermezzo because I feel like it was a mix of these two books to create this book. But overall, despite the fact that I have a lot of critiques of this novel, I did really enjoy it. I love the exploration of brotherhood from the older sibling and the younger sibling. I loved the way that they explored their own versions of grief, whether they were grieving their father or grieving relationships that they previously had. And I also just loved how human this book felt. This book felt like a TV show waiting to happen. It felt so real and it took its time telling its story, and while the ending was a little bit rushed for me, I still really enjoyed the journey that I went on, even if it wasn't my new favorite Sally Rooney book of all time. I think it does have the power to become other people's favorite Sally Rooney books of all time, but we all have our own different preferences and different things that we're looking for in her novels, and those are my thoughts about Sally Rooney's Intermezzo. I feel like she's only ever improving with exploring larger and larger casts of characters, and I'm really excited to see what she's going to explore next, because she has explored so many different areas of life that I'm forever fascinated by, and I'm just wondering what's stirring in her mind next. And thank you so much for watching this reading vlog, and thank you so much to FSG Books for gifting me a copy of Intermezzo. You made my entire 2024. I'm currently in the middle of a bunch of other reading vlogs, so be sure to keep an eye out for those in the future. If you have any other video ideas that you would like to see from me, please comment them down below. If you've stayed this far in the video, leave a pawn emoji in the comments so we could see who stays for the longest in all my videos. If you do, I appreciate you so much, and I thank you for leaving a comment, for liking, subscribing, and just sharing my channel with your friends, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!